What's going on, guys? This is Foresight Capital bringing a quick update on the Palantir trade that we've been following for the past week and a half or so. This will probably be my last update on this stock for a couple of days as I'm looking to allocate some of my time that I have set aside for YouTube videos to other stocks. So if you're interested in seeing other stocks, make sure to leave a comment down below on what stock you want to see featured, and I'll try to cover one of those. However, we did see Palantir close down about 1% today, so I wanted to cover where we could realistically see the stock price going over the next couple of days, and if we set new all-time highs, where the stock could realistically head after that. So after the big run-up that we saw on Monday morning trading, which was partially due to a technical breakout and partially due to a couple of different deals signed, one with a defined $44 billion value with the US FDA and another sort of friendly agreement between Palantir and the Greek government to continue their partnership. We saw a run-up of about 20%, basically from right around the $24 per share range all the way up to $30 per share. And we saw a bit of a continuation of that run this morning. But when the market opened, we had a pretty big sell-off from that all-time high, or that recent high, back to a more realistic number of about $28 to $28.50 per share. In fact, we tested this red support line, which we have notated over here in the red box, of about $27.70. We actually did not break below that line, but we had a little bit of afternoon downtrend and consolidation back towards this $27.70 line. So it's looking like probably tomorrow on Wednesday, or maybe even Thursday, if we see a lot of consolidation, we'll see the price ultimately touch this line again. And this is going to be a big point when we ultimately decide whether or not this is going to be a long-term support or whether it's going to continue to fall through and trade much closer to this long-term uptrend that we've got notated by this red line here. So we can see with the big spike in price, we had a little bit of trouble actually breaking through this 2770 resistance, and we tested it really for a couple of hours before breaking through it, even with all of the bullish activity that we had going on. And now we're seeing it come back down and use this as support. So to me, that indicates that it's a pretty strong support line, and pending any sort of bad news or anything like that, we should probably see the stock trade down and touch this line before making some sort of consolidated run back towards all-time highs. So the next question is, if we do go back and test all-time highs, where could we realistically see the stock move after breaking through those? The biggest thing is going to be once we break through them, basically the big numbers, so numbers like 35 and 40, which are more psychological numbers, will be big ones to watch. But we can also use Fibonacci to determine where a good price target may be after that. So we had a retracement basically from the 33.50 all-time highs back to what we'll call the bottom of this candle before the trend really reversed, and that's about 21.15. So if we draw a Fibonacci retracement here, we'll actually be able to zoom out on the chart and see realistically where we could expect the price to go from here. Now it's going to get a little bit cramped, but Fibonacci actually has two levels of retracement. So once you have a pullback from highs that stops one trend, which was this long-term uptrend, and defines a new trend, you can draw the retracement back to the stop of that trend, which is basically when we broke this short-term downtrend that we had and started another new uptrend. And if you draw the Fibonacci retracement there, it will actually give you extensions to where the price could go next. And basically that's a 168% increase, which is this decline, so 33.50 down to the 21.15 area where this short-term downtrend broke. A 168% retracement from that leads us to a price point of about $41.15 per share. So if you believe in the Fibonacci method, then 41.15 could be a realistic expectation once this 33.50 per share price point is broken. And then the continuation on from that would be another 100% increase of this decline, basically 261.8%, and that's $53.49. So we've got some big psychological numbers coming up of 33.50, which is the all-time high, we've got basically $35 and $40 per share, which are just natural psychological numbers. And then the next sort of level of resistance from there that we should realistically see, or possibly even a price target if you're bullish on the stock, is $41.15, which is an absolutely huge return from where it is. In fact, that's almost $13 per share, which is just under 50% return from where we currently are, and then on up to $53, in which case before then we would see the $50 per share price point, which could be a big psychological barrier. So as we can see here, we're currently trading in after hours at $28.50. Again, I think that we're going to see a little bit of a pullback to this $27.70 thick red support line that I've had drawn out here. It's very promising that we use that as support today on the pullback. And while it wasn't direct support and the price didn't sit there, it's even more promising for the bull case that it actually bounced off of that line pretty strongly, because that leads me to believe that we might see some downward consolidation towards that line. But I think ultimately what we're going to see is a continuation of the bull trend, and we just have to let the bears test this one more time to see if we're going to break below this 2770 level. And if we don't, I think this thing could really have some legs to spring back up. So a lot of the comments out there have been saying that, realistically, I kind of fill you in on the way that both sides of the trade could go. And I'm personally bullish on this stock. So I think in the long term and in the short term, we're going to see some really nice price action and a move upward. But I always like to cover the downside, because some of you are looking for areas where you want to take profit or where you want to find a good entry. So forgive me for saying this, but if we do break the 2770 price point here, I think realistically the next two levels that we really have to worry about are going to be this 200 period moving average, which isn't yet defined exactly where it could be, but as of right now, it's about 24.45, and that also lines up with the yellow support line that we have, which is 24.60 over here in the box. So both of those price points are levels that you want to watch for if we break below the 2770. The most important thing to remember here is that actually breaking this support line doesn't happen until the price goes below the red line and full candles open and close below. So if you look at this candle, we dipped below 2770. In fact, the low of the candle was 2725, but we didn't close below that line, and we continued this consolidation period above that line. What you would need to see is an actual full open and closed candle below the line before we really broken that as support and started heading to the downside. So if you do see some long-tailed candles going below the red line, that's actually probably bullish, because that shows that the line that the price is getting quickly snapped back up in the bull's favor once the bears try to push it down below that line. So again, levels of support realistically 24.60 or this long-term trend, depending on how quickly the price falls, because currently the long-term trend is pretty much sitting right on the 24.60 line. So that's very strong support to the downside. But realistically, if we don't have any negative news events, I think we're going to use this 27.70 as support, and then either consolidate or get a nice springboard action up towards all-time highs, in which case we're going to see basically $5 per share in stock price appreciation there, almost $6, which is going to be very nice for the bulls, assuming that you're still holding the stock. Some very nice gains there. And then from there, realistically, that $41.15 and $53 per share range are where Fibonacci would suggest that the price would go. So I hope that this video brought you some value. Just kind of wanted to give a quick update on the trade. Again, don't forget to subscribe if the video brings you value. I'm not going to cover Palantir probably every day, but I will continue to cover this trade as news events happen or as big price moments happen. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see those, and leave a comment down below on what stocks you want to see covered next. Thanks for stopping by, and catch you in the next one.